Hey, it's Heather here from the Shine God FM Momcast, and I am joined today with author Sharon Janes. Now, Sharon, you have actually written a lot of books. How many books do you have?
This is number 26 that we're going to be talking about today. So,
wow.
Yeah, got a few there.
Introduce yourself to our listeners, kind of your family, and kind of what your history is a little bit.
Okay. Well, I've been doing ministry with women actually for about 30 years. That sounds so long. It's like as old as you are, I think. Yeah, one of my first books was called Being a Great Mom, Raising Great Kids with Moody Press. So I really have a heart for moms. But my books have a wide range. I think one that I speak on a lot is called When You Don't Like Your Story. What if your worst chapters could become your greatest victories? Because I had a pretty rough upbringing, and God has used every single bit of it to encourage other people through ministry. So been in ministry a while, started out helping Lisa Turker start Proverbs 31. I was there for 10 years, and vice president with her, and then president for 3 years when she had her third child, to give her a little break right there. Wanted to spend more time writing and that sort of thing. So I still do a little bit with Proverbs. I'm not in leadership, but I write devotions for them about once every other month and help with some other things that they do. And then I did a ministry called Girlfriends in God for 17 years. So we just stopped that, brought that to a close about a year and a half ago. But that was an incredible joy with Gwen Smith and Mary Sutherland. We had a whole team of writers with that, but that was big fun. So now I'm just praying about what next steps will be and continuing to write and do a weekly blog devotion on my website and minister to, I think about 80,000 women get that. So it's been, just love ministering to women and speaking at women's groups. Love doing that.
How many kids do you have?
I only have one. That was not my choice. That was God's choice. We had Stephen, and then we're not able to have other children. So that was God's plan for us. But Stephen is an adult now. He lives actually in Chicagoland. So, so he's a grown up and has a big boy job and all that good stuff.
That's awesome. Well, great.
Yeah.
Well, the book we're going to be talking about is called Momma Moments with God. And this was because I do the Momcast. I get sent books, a lot of books, to be honest with you. And this was one that caught my attention because it says it's a 90-day devotional. And when I opened it up, what I loved about it was that there were scriptures on every page, but also every devotion was pretty much just like a page and a half. So talk a little bit about the ideas behind this and why you wanted to write this type of devotional book.
Well, I know that I'm with moms all the time, and I know they just feel like they don't have a lot of time. And I mean, they really don't have a lot of time. So I wanted to write something that would get them centered to, still related to motherhood, but, focusing on God and how God feels about moms and how to get over discouragement and some of the main topics. I mean, I know what moms struggle with. I know they just struggle with just feeling like they're not doing it right. They feel discouraged. They're not seeing any fruit. They don't have enough time. So looking at some of those key topics that women struggle with, this is what the devotions relate to and what the scripture relates to for everyone. And then there's a prayer at each one too. And I mean, it probably would take you maybe 6 minutes a day.
It's not long at all. It was really... It was just about the time that it took me to eat my breakfast every morning.
Not that long. You can multitask. And, I think you could even pray while chewing your breakfast. I don't think I would mind that. So, but, there is a prayer there each day. And then there's a couple of response questions. So to just give you some extra things to think about, or in your case, chew on while you're having your breakfast. So there you go. But I mean, it really, and I want people to know too, that it's not just for moms of young kids. It starts out at the beginning after the first one, but it, talks about young kids, and it goes all the way up to graduation. Yeah. So the last devotion is actually about that. So it goes all the way through those teen years.
Why do you think moms, because I hear this and you probably do too, why do we think most of the time we're not doing a very good job?
I think a lot of it's comparison.
Mm,
But I don't know. I think even before the internet, moms probably still felt that way because they aren't seeing the results that they want. I mean, there's just some days you feel like, God, throw me a bone and just let me see some result.
mhm.
I love the story of how the Chinese grow bamboo. They plant the bamboo seeds and they water them, fertilize them. Nothing happens. Next year, they do the same thing. And then the third year, fourth year, still watering, fertilized, nothing happens.
Hmm.
But then on the fifth year, the bamboo tree grows about 90 feet in 6 weeks. So here's
Whoa.
the question. Did it grow? Did the bamboo tree grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did it grow take 5 years for it to do it? Well, it
Mm,
took 5 years. And so that's 4 years of them doing that and not seeing anything. And that
right.
just reminds me so much of motherhood. I mean, we might see a little bit, but sometimes it takes a while to see the results of what we're doing. I love
Mm,
when Paul says, let us not become weary in doing good, for the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up.
right.
So, I mean, I know as a mom, we're not going to give up, but we can surely get discouraged, wanting to see some of those results. I think
Mhm.
another reason that moms get discouraged is because of the mistakes that our kids make, the choices
Mm,
that they make, I would say. And this probably middle school, upper school, high school, some of the decisions that they make can be very discouraging, and we can feel like I have not done my job because they're making these choices
mhm.
and they're going through such struggle. But here's one thing, Heather, I want to ask you this question. When in your life have you grown the most
When
spiritually?
when I've struggled, yeah.
Absolutely. So let's think about that. I know as a mom, I have another book called Praying for Your Child from Head to Toe, and it's on praying scripture over your children in
Mm,
16 different areas of their lives. It's a 30-day prayer plan. But our tendency is to pray that our children won't struggle.
right, right.
That they'll have, God bless this child. Well, you know what? That blessing might be the struggle.
Mm,
And we think about our own lives and that we've grown the most. Mom, listen, if you're listening to this, remember this. When you have grown the most, I bet you anything, it's during a time of struggle, and when you've had difficulties, maybe even when you've made a bad choice. So our kids will grow. That is a blessing. It's not going to feel like it, but when they do make a bad choice and they learn from that, that's part of the process of growing up. So I think moms and dads get discouraged when they see that happening. They tend to blame it on themselves and what they have not done properly. But
mhm.
listen, it's just part of the process of growing up. It really, I totally understand. Let me give you this example. My son actually just turned 40. So he's like, I mean, not just a big boy, he's an adult. Okay. So and he's a great, great, wonderful person. But I wrote my first book when he was like the ninth grade called Being a Great Mom Raising Great Kids with Moody Press. I mean, Stephen was great. He'd never gotten in trouble. I mean, he was so easy. And of course, Heather, thought, oh, I am such a good mom. So I'm going to write this book. So I write the
Right.
book. I've done everything right. And I've dropped, this is when you had to drop it in the mailbox. This is not sending an email with an
Right,
attachment.
yeah.
So, typed out, put it in the mailbox. I'm serious. I put it in the mailbox. I drive home, phone is ringing, and it's Stephen in the eighth or ninth grade. And he says, Mom, I am in the principal's office. I got caught for stealing in the lunchroom today. You need to come down here. Okay, now let's just think about this. Book in the mailbox. What did I want to do? Climb in the mailbox, get the book out, and I thought I'm a total failure. I
I'm
can't
not
write a
yet.
book about this. I can't encourage other mothers. So anyway, he ended up yes, he got in school suspension for a week, and he got in trouble when he got home, of course.
Mhm.
But that was part of his growing up and part of what he had to go through. And now he's a wonderful man.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I tell that story to encourage a mom who's thinking about a bad decision that her child had made. I
Mhm.
actually called Moody Press after that, and I talked to a precious man named Greg Thornton, and I said, Greg, you cannot publish this book. I mean, my son got in trouble today at school. You cannot publish it. I don't know
Oh.
what I was thinking. And he so sweetly said, Welcome to the real world. And that has always stuck with me because that is part of the real world and part of
Mhm.
being a mom is
Mhm.
that they're going to make decisions, and it's part of their growing up.
Right.
Part of their growing up to make this. And let me tell you one more thing, Heather.
Yeah, sure.
But social media is a problem for moms.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to leave that out.
Yeah.
And, we used to compare ourselves to other women around us in our sphere of influence, in our neighborhoods, in our schools. But now we're comparing ourselves to women all around the world. And of course, we're comparing our insides to someone's outsides. And we're looking at their highlight reel, and that is not reality.
Right.
So don't do it. Just seriously, when you see all this wonderful stuff on Facebook, on Instagram, on all these different mediums, think about how many pictures they had to take to get that one, and nobody's putting the bad stuff. So, we all do it too. We put the highlight reel on, and we don't put the stuff on the cutting edge, what's on the cutting edge floor. So,
right. Yeah, exactly.
That's a real problem for moms.
Yeah, I agree.
We need to know this. It's a problem for our kids. It's going to be exponentially harder on them.
Right. What helped you in that moment where you found out that Stephen had stolen something in the lunchroom? Like, how do you help your kid walk through that? I mean, obviously, like you said, there's punishment at home. We did that too. But I think as they get older, and just talking about older kids, because I have a 21-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 17-year-old, I want to fix things sometimes. I just want to step in and go, well, we'll just take care of that. Well, that's not helping them, actually. And I think sometimes our culture right now is very focused on just making sure that our kids are happy and taken care of. And that's not what God's plan is for our kids. So, like, how do you walk through that process with your kid, not fix it, not try to, make it all better, but how do you support them in that?
Yeah, I think that's a real problem today, probably in the past 20 years more than any time before, of parents trying to fix things. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I remember being little and reading the story of the little train that could. I mean, when that little train, I think I can. But then I thought, suppose the mama train came and pushed that train over the hill because he was struggling, then he would never know that he could. Right. So with our children, I think it's very important not to try to fix things. I mean, of course, if it's something like bullying or something that's dangerous, we want to step in. But if they're struggling with something, we need to let that struggle play out. Mm-hmm. And it could be that the struggle that they're having is the very thing that's going to draw them to God, right, and draw them closer in a relationship to the Lord and strengthen their faith. If we come in and fix it, then that'll never happen. Let me give you an example of that. When my son got his driver's license, we always told him we would pay his car insurance as long as he didn't get a ticket. When he was 18, he got a ticket. Now, I didn't get mad about it. I just said, Stephen, I am so sorry that you got that ticket. Because he knew that now he had to pay his own insurance. Right. And see, when you set up those boundaries and you're not trying to fix it, and they have to take care of it, the responsibility is on them. Right. And, and I didn't have to get mad. I just said, I am so sorry, because that's going to be so expensive. Right. But see, we'd already set it up the boundary, and it would have been easy. And especially with me having one child, a lot of times, Heather, I would say to myself, because I had one, would I do this if I had 3 children? Because I knew it'd be I loved being a mom, and it would be so easy to ruin him by spoiling him and hovering and doing everything for him, because I like to do those things. Right. But I knew that was not the best thing to raise a good human being. Mm-hmm. So, I think those, just trying, even though you want to fix it, and maybe you can fix it, if they're not in danger, let them struggle through it. When he was, I don't mean to be doing an anthology on Stephen this morning, but some of these examples are when he was learning how to ride his bicycle without training wheels. Went in the backyard and took the training wheels off. I'm holding the back, like we've all done with our kids. I was holding the back. I'd let go. He'd be fine until he saw that I'd let go, and then he'd fall. And then I said to him, after about the 9th fall, I kept saying, you can do it. You can do it. One day, this is going to be the funnest thing you do as a kid. Keep trying. And I think it was about the 10th fall. he threw his bicycle down, put his hands on his hips, and he said, "This is not fun, and it will never be fun." So, and I thought, "No, exactly how you feel there, buddy. Feel like that a lot of days." But you know what? It's something he worked it out, and that was something that I could not fix. He had to get that right. So, in his something, we went to sleep, worked it on his brain. Next day, he goes out and he does it by himself. But you see, that's an example of them having to figure that out. That is not something we can do for them. We can encourage them. He had to figure that out. One thing I love about, with these devotions and thinking about drawing our attention back to the Lord in each one of these stories. And some of the stories you might be thinking, how in the world does that go back to the Lord? But I promise you it does. But I think about how God how Jesus, let's talk about Jesus, how Jesus loved mothers and how he took special care to notice moms. There are two stories in the Bible that really just pull on my heartstrings. And one is in Luke 17, where Jesus is walking into town. And at the same time, there's a mom walking out of town. She's a widow, so that's bad in itself. And her only son has just died. So there's a funeral procession behind her. And Jesus sees that and he stops what he's doing to watch this, goes up to that mother and says, "Don't cry." I mean, he's just so moved by it. "Don't cry." And he walks over to the coffin and he says, "Young man, I tell you to get up." But think about that. Jesus is walking in. She's walking out. There's no mention of her faith. She doesn't know who Jesus is. She doesn't even ask. But Jesus felt the pain of a mother losing her child, and he did something about it. Yeah, I love that story. And the other story that I just love is when Jesus and his disciples had traveled into the Syrophoenician area or the Canaanite area. And they walk in this area and this mother comes up and she is not Jewish. She's not an Israelite and she's a Canaanite. And she says, or Syrophoenician, as some would say, telling him that her daughter is sick, begging him to heal the daughter. She's possessed by a demon. And then there's a very odd conversation in our eyes between Jesus and this woman. And he says he has come for the Israelites. And she said, "But yes, even the dogs under the table get the scraps." And she just won't let it go. She's just showing how much faith she has in Jesus. Then he says to her, "Dear woman, your faith is great. Your request is granted." I love how the Message says it. "Oh, woman, your faith is something else." Don't you love that? Your faith is something else. That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. But here's the thing. He healed that woman's daughter. And guess what he did next? He left. So they went all the way to this area, to this Canaanite area. And I believe for this one mother that was hurting to heal her daughter, and he didn't do anything else there. So the question is, would Jesus go all the way to one place for one particular mother? And the answer is yes. Yeah. I truly believe that that's exactly what he did. And he will do the same for us. Right. He will take care of this one lone mama. Me, you, and our listeners.
Exactly.
And our listeners.
Exactly. What about some tips for moms, especially that have littles? I think it does. I mean, teenage years are a little different with schedules and stuff, but you can, sometimes I was reading a devotion while I was sitting in a parking lot waiting for a kid to come out of practice, But what about those moms who are in those really young years? What are some tips that you can give them for ways that they can make time and connect with God?
Well, the first couple of years, we have naps. So that's great.
That's true.
And I know a lot of times when they take a nap, you might want to take a nap too. And that is absolutely fine. But, nap time is great. I know when they're really little, they most likely wake up before you do. The ideal situation is to spend time with the Lord in the morning before the house is stirred. Right. But realistically, with little children, that might be very, very difficult. I know a lot of people don't recommend doing their time with the Lord at night before they go to bed, but you know what? That might be the best time for you. Right. That might be the best time when everyone is finally quiet. If your child does have any, there's all kinds of breaks that they might have during their day. And of course, when go off to preschool or kindergarten and then into elementary school, there is more times when you've got by yourself. So, like you said, you would do it at lunch, or there's different times of day when there is a break at the carpool line. If you're sitting in carpool line for 15 minutes, wow, what a great time to spend with the Lord. You'd had extra time because, like I say, it's only 6 minutes.
Right,
Just
exactly.
looking for those little nuggets of time. And it's also great if you can find one that works for you that is consistent. That consistency really
Yeah,
is helpful. So every day at nap time, I'm going to do this first before I start doing my work, before I take my nap. And
right.
then, every day at carpool line, I'm going to do this, or, just having a consistent time, because consistency, we know it takes 30 days to form a new habit. So it can kind of become a habit and become part of your routine. And anytime something becomes part of your routine, that makes it a lot easier to do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today. The book is called Momma's Moments with God. It's a 90-day devotional, and I recommend it. I've been using it this summer, and it has been really just these little pockets. It's been a great addition to what I was already doing. So, Sharon Janes, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, Heather.